So hello everyone, so today we're going to learn about the principles of food preservation. Okay, what exactly you mean by food preservation? Food preservation means increasing the shelf life. Okay, what is shelf life? Shelf life means increasing the number of consumable days. For example, you take a biscuit packet. The normal consumable days will be 6 months, 1 year maximum. But there are certain foods which are to be consumed within 1 or 2 days, or maximum 3 days. For example, banana. So, what do you do to preserve the banana so that you can increase the consumable days of the banana to at least 1 week or 2 weeks? So that is preservation. And for studying that preservation, there are certain principles. So let's begin. What is preservation and why is it needed? Okay, to protect the foods against spoilage. This is the very basic simple one line answer. Why preservation and what is preservation? Preservation, as I told you, to increase the shelf life, that is increase the consumable days. The proper definition of preservation is the science which deals with the process for prevention or decay of spoilage of the food. That means preservation is to prevent the decay and to stop the spoilage of the food and to increase the number of consumable days. Number of consumable days in the sense to increase the shelf life so that even after 1 month or 2 months you can consume the food. Why is preservation needed? Okay, why is it needed? To increase the shelf life, to make food available throughout the year. For example, apples, mangoes, they are seasonal foods, right? But through preservation techniques, we can make it available throughout the year and add variety to the diet. What if someone wishes to eat apple during winters? You will get it. But what if someone wishes to eat mangoes during winters? It's difficult, right? So there are preservation techniques which can be available, and through that you can consume mangoes even during winters. Okay, now don't tell me it's a hybrid. There are preservation techniques also. And lastly, to improve the health of the population. Okay, while learning about preservation, we must know that what are the reasons that causes hindrance for this preservation. I mean, what are the reasons of spoilage of the food so that we need these preservation techniques. Certainly, if there is no spoilage, why do we even need to preserve food? It can last long, right? Okay, there are four to five. Firstly is fermentation. It is caused by molds, yeast and bacteria. Have you heard of condensed milk or sweetened milk, that is thick milk, which you get it in cans in the supermarket or any general store? If you do not store in certain conditions or do not seal it properly, you can see mold growth on that also. So that is due to fermentation. Enzymes. See, for example, if you cut an apple and put it openly for quite a few hours, it will turn brown, right? That is due to enzymatic browning. Chemicals, air, metal traces. So these are certain reasons for spoilage of the food. And certainly there are certain preservation techniques also. You must be asking how metal traces. For example, you consume any canned food product or canned fish. They are canned fish products, right? So if the metal is not proper, if the metal is rusty, the can usually is made up of iron and tin. So if they are rusty and if they are not sealed properly, there might be chemical reaction and the fish product or any food product might react with the metal and they might be one of the reasons for the spoilage of the food. So there are certain reasons and accordingly the preservation techniques are also there. Okay, so when we learned about the spoilage of the food, we need to learn about the principles of preservation. There are certainly three principles of preservation. First is to prevent or delay the microbial decomposition of the food. That means to delay the microbial decomposition is certainly we cannot stop the microbial spoilage after some time, but we can at least increase the consumable days and delay the microbial growth. Second is to prevent or delay the self decomposition of the food. Certainly, there are certain kinds of foods where if they are stored properly, there won't be any microbial growth or microbial spoilage, but after some time, it itself is not be consumable. That is, there is no nutrient only in the food, so there is no use of consuming the food. Third is prevention or damage of the food caused by the insects, animals and mechanical issues. For example, rice bags, wheat bags which are stored in warehouses, if the proper prevention, proper care is not taken, the rice bags might be affected by rodents and insects. Okay, so starting with the first principle, what do you mean by delay, prevention, microbial decomposition of the food? First is removal of microorganisms. How do you remove? Either by pesticides, insecticides, or by hindering the growth. That means creating a moisture, creating an atmosphere where you hinder the growth of the microorganisms, and there won't be any necessity to kill the microorganisms only, because microorganisms will not be only growing. And second is destruction and inactivation of the enzymes. See, not always the atmosphere is responsible for the growth of microorganisms. Even enzymes are responsible for it. So every food product, even in the human body, there are microorganisms. So we cannot completely destroy all the microorganisms, right? But certain microorganisms which are not needed and which causes microbial spoilage, those are to be destroyed. So we can delay the non-enzymatic reactions. And the third principle is to preservation deals with the damage caused by various external agencies. As I told you, that is animals, humans, insects. So if any of the consumers, for example, eats a half-eaten apple, okay, which was open for a long time, and that person consumes a half-eaten apple, obviously that person won't die, right? Certainly there might be maximum food poisoning or ill, but the person won't die. So these microbial spoilages certainly won't cause death, but it won't cause even, it might cause food poisoning and stomach ache and fever, that's it. So extreme health risks, we are not going to see that. But yes, if that apple is really, I mean, consumed by any animal, or consumed by a person which is infected by extreme diseases, so then there might be extreme health risks. So coming to the conclusion, with these three principles and the spoilage of the food, we learned that to retain the natural taste, aroma of the product, it is necessary to preserve. So that, for example, you make pickle at home, you need to preserve it, right? Because you are making it in a larger quantity, and certainly if you don't provide certain conditions, it will get spoiled. And if you want that taste, aroma, what you made yesterday, even to be even to have the same taste and aroma even after 1 month, you need to preserve it well. And various methods of preservation are also employed, and each one has its own merits. That means each preservation method has its own plus and minus points. So there are certain methods of preservation, for example salting and oiling. There are certain preservation methods, but not all preservation methods are done for all kinds of foods. So with those preservation methods, and with more two principles and elaborating the principles of the preservation, next video will be coming. Thank you very much.